What up? Welcome to episode 4. I'm back from Stockholm. I'm in a new location. I'm not in a new location, it's still in my room, but I've picked a different scene because the backdrop I had sucked, let's be honest. So I'm now sitting on the couch and it's way more comfortable. I feel more relaxed. I've got a table next to me that I can keep my notes and my drink bottle on. It's good. So back from Stockholm, I got back. It is currently Friday. I got back Tuesday night at 8 p.m. I crushed jet lag pretty much. Not even tired. It's a lie. I'm a little bit tired. I managed to sleep. So the flight was, I flew from Melbourne to Bangkok, then Bangkok to Stockholm. It was 9 hours and then 11 hours. On the way back, obviously 11 hours, then 9 hours. On the way home, my plan was to try and sleep for that 11-hour flight. And I actually managed to. I had myself wrapped up like a madman. So I had eye mask on, I had headphones, then I had a face mask, and then I had a neck pillow. You couldn't see anything, and it was like crazy because I'd get knocked on the elbow by the flight attendant and I'd be like, I couldn't see what was going on. I couldn't hear anything, and I couldn't, like, my mouth was covered as well. So I didn't know which part to peel off first. Usually it would be eye mask, and then I'd see, and then they would be trying to tell me something, and I'd be like, I have no fucking idea what you're saying because I got headphones on. So then I'd take my headphones off, then my mask would go flying off. It'd chaos, utter chaos. But it worked because I tried to stay wrapped up like that for majority of the flight and just try and sleep. And I think I was in and out of sleep for at least 8 of the 11 hours. I got on the flight, ate food, and then just conked out. And it was great. Not great because I didn't get up much during that flight, but great because it was dark, right? And then I tried to stay awake for the majority of the second flight, which was 9 hours. I slept for the probably first 2 or 3, and then I stayed awake, which meant I got home and it was like 8 p.m. I was so tired, went to bed, slept all the way through till like 6 a.m. and then woke up feeling pretty good, which was nice. And at that point, I, like everyone else who travels and has jet lag, thought that I'd nailed jet lag, thought that I didn't have it. And I did, in fact, have jet lag because that's not how it works. It's always a trap. You always think you've nailed it, and then you get hit. And then the following night, I was up at midnight and I was like, I'm awake, like properly awake. Shit. I'd forgotten to take a melatonin that night before going to bed, and that bit me in the ass. But last night I had a good sleep. I was up a little bit, but mostly slept through. Tonight I'll probably sleep all the way through, and then we're back on the clock. It was, I'm going to pause and fix this lighting. The hard part about recording in your bedroom is the lighting always goes haywire when the sun changes and all that kind of stuff. So I'm pretty much back on the clock, which is good. Jet lag and travel is just, it's hard. I hate it because I want to get back into training, especially coming back from Stockholm and then having Sydney next week. I want to try and get back into the routine of things as quick as possible, but you can't be rushed. And if you're not sleeping well and you're not recovering well, there's no point doing hard training because you just put yourself in a hole. I'll tell you about a time where I learnt that lesson the real hard way. I'd gotten back from First Worlds in France, and I came back and I basically got off the plane, unpacked my stuff, had about 2 hours of sleep, and then went into the gym to start training. And then it was a pretty hard session. And then the next day I did a full sim of a solo pro. And then I ended up with a broken back, and then I ended up really sick because that's not what you do when you come back from traveling. You do not go straight into doing crazy things and training like a madman. You allow yourself to recover, you allow yourself to get back on time, and then you start training. And I made that mistake, and I will not make it again because it meant I missed a race in Melbourne. And that was probably one of the biggest spirals I've had in my entire life, but a good turning point. Anyway, Stockholm, how was it? So it was actually really cool. The city was very friendly, being a vegan. I was worried, always worried, but I booked an Airbnb with a kitchen. Airbnb was very cozy, but I had a kitchen, which was nice. And I went to the supermarket to buy some stuff. I spent about 90 minutes there with ChatGPT, just taking photos of things, asking if it was vegan. And it took me ages to find the vegan section, but they have better vegan options than we do here. They have this thing called C10, which is like wheat gluten, and it's like super dense in protein, and that's basically all it's got, right? It's not super high in fat, it's not super high in carbs, like a lot of other protein sources for vegans. It was just pure protein, and that was fantastic. So I had a lot of that, had a lot of tofu, had a lot of chickpeas. I basically lived off tofu, chickpeas, frozen vegetables, and wraps. As well as like some yogurt. They had a lot of good like soy yogurts over there. We do not have soy yogurts here that taste any good. They had a lot of good tasting stuff. So I had soy yogurts and then like soy milk and all that kind of stuff. It was great, basically. And there was quite a few sweetie treats as well. I ended up coming home with some vegan Nutella, which I have been eating, and it's delicious. But very friendly city for vegans. So that was a huge positive and put me at ease knowing that I had my food sorted leading into a race. I think one of the things I struggle with traveling abroad and racing is I don't like to eat out a lot as is. And then when you go out as a vegan to eat, the food fucking sucks, to put it frankly. Like, they do not look after your nutritional needs. They focus on taste, which ends up being carbs and fats, no protein whatsoever. Like, you think, yo, just have falafels. Falafels are fucking shit when it comes to protein, mate. They're not a good source of protein. They are not. If you're trying to compare falafels to like chicken, it's shit. You need a good protein source. And for that, it needs to be based around C10, tofu, something that is just dense in protein. So it's why I like to try and, cook for myself, because I can do that because I'm capable of doing it. Whereas when you eat out, sometimes not good. But the week as a whole was really cool. Like we got there Tuesday morning, did a bit of an explore while we were waiting for the Airbnbs and stuff, and had a little walk around. The architecture is really interesting. It's different, like it's European, but the colors are just slightly different. It reminded me of like what I imagine the architecture in Russia would be like for some reason. Just like lots of like yellowy, orangey, reddy kind of stuff, but super clean city as well. Like no trash or rubbish or dirt anywhere. It is just pristine, which I loved. I didn't really catch public transport much. I caught it a couple of times, but it functioned well. Like you just tap your card on and off, real easy to do. So that's always a good positive when public transport works well. Otherwise, it was just Lime scooters or like e-scooters around the whole city. And yeah, it was pretty beautiful. It was a big city, but it was also a small city. You could get anywhere on a Lime scooter, which I liked because I wasn't staying in the hustle and bustle, but I was like close enough that it meant a 10-minute ride on the scooter, would do me well. I'm going to adjust the light again. Fucking shit, man. How is that? Does that help me? Does that give me... That's a bit better. But I got to really sort this lighting out. That's my next thing to do. I'm going to buy some lights off Amazon so I can set up a studio and have non-natural lighting, because that's better. Although I thrive in natural light. One of the things I do not like when I get up in the morning is having the blinds down and darkness. I feel like my day just starts off horribly and then I do not get better and I feel sluggish for the rest of the day. Whereas if I get up and there's natural light, I feel like I thrive. So I'm a natural light kind of guy. But landed in Stockholm. Went through all that stuff, got my food sorted, and then I decided that I was going to help myself adapt to the time zone, I was going to train. So I went to the gym. I did an easy run down to the gym. It was about 1.5 Ks away. Ran on the treadmill for 6 Ks, did a 20-minute bike, and then ran home. I just wanted to try and get in like roughly an hour of easy aerobic work and just keep myself awake. So then I went home. It was like 7 o'clock in the evening, made a nice massive dinner, and then went to sleep. And actually had a really good sleep until about 5 a.m. where I was just wide awake and couldn't get back to sleep. So I got up, watched some YouTube, did some work, and then I think I went to the gym again that day. Yes, I did, because that was a priming session. So then did my final priming session, and it was good. Like the gym there was crazy. Life Lab, Fit Lab, something like that. Very popular. Everyone was there. First day I went in there, I remember seeing like all of the Elite 15 athletes, but it was the gym to be at. They had all the equipment. It was like a proper Hyrox performance center. So they had like all the Hyrox treadmills, but then they also had like 12 or 14 Woodway treadmills, which are like the best treadmills, fully kitted out. So I did my priming session there on day 2. That was good. Everything felt better. One thing I noticed is my hips don't travel well. Being seated for such a long time on a plane, my hips and stuff get stale and almost get thrown back to before I started improving them. Even now, having come home, my hips are a bit tight and I just hate it because it means my running feels clunky. I just feel sore and stale. Whereas like before traveling, fine. And like I felt good. I felt like the issues had almost gone, but traveling has flared them up again. So I've been stretching. I've been, doing my prehab stuff. And one of the things that actually helps is running, ironically, but running with good form, good cadence. So running intervals, which I did this morning to try and help just open everything up. Because when I got to Stockholm, before doing my priming session, my hips were not good. After doing priming session, hips were good. So that was the Tuesday, because I arrived on the Monday. Tuesday was that. Wednesday was Tuesday night. We actually had dinner with LSKD. That was really cool. Get to meet everyone. It was nice to see people that I knew in the big city and kind of settle in. That was nice. We went to a really nice place, got chatting, ate some food. The next day was like a shakeout run with LSKD and Proven. That was fun. Again, meeting new people, getting to chat to a bunch of people that I hadn't seen for a while or hadn't actually met before. So that was fun. And then we went into a bit of a content day with LSKD where the guide, they had not a tour guide, but one of the LSKD athletes, Ollie, took us around the city in a big bus. And we got to look at some pretty cool stuff, namely a castle. And then we went up onto a hill and we basically got to see top-down view of the whole city, which was sick. But it was cool because I wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for them, right? Like I don't go and do these exploring things, especially when I'm there for a race. I usually just like try and chill out and stick to myself. So the fact that they put that on and took us all out there was really nice. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I met so many people too, which was cool. And that being on the Wednesday was good timing as well, because it was far enough away from the race that it wasn't going to impact it. And then we get to the Thursday, which is the day before the race. Now, this was actually really cool. So I got asked by Puma to come to a seating suite. I didn't know what a seating suite was, but I got asked by Puma to come to one. When I first heard the term seating suite, I was like, a seating suite. Seating suite. I was a bit sus. But when I got there, it was basically, this is like almost the highlight of the whole trip for me. When I got there, it was this room at the top of the stadium somewhere, and they had like a bunch of snacks in the room, and then they had this other part of the room that was like curtained off, and in there was a rack of men's clothes, a rack of women's clothes, and like a coffee table with all the Hyrox shoes, all the Puma shoes. And I was like, cool, like what's a go? And they were like, if you need anything to try on, ask us, we'll get your size, you can try it on, and then you can take it. And I was like, oh yeah, so like, is there a limit? And they were like, nah, no limit, go for it. I was like, what? Like, just to clarify, like I can have whatever I want. They were like, yep, like no issues. And I was like, what? So I basically came home with 4 extra pairs of shoes, and I'm getting sent another 3 pairs. I love running in Puma shoes. I'm not sponsored by Puma. I'd love to be sponsored by Puma, but it's kind of hard to get a sponsorship from Puma. I've tried. But the fact that I got this opportunity was fantastic because it meant I got kitted out with shoes that are going to last me for the rest of the year. I got their new DV8 Elite 4s. I got the new colorway for the Hyrox Edition Elite 4s. I got to try the DV8 Nitro, the DV8 Pure Nitro, which are going to be my favorite shoe. I can tell you very quickly they're going to become my favorite shoe. I've done 1 run in them, and it was fantastic. They're an easy tempo kind of shoe, and they were amazing. I'm blown away. I should have got multiple pairs of them, but I didn't. I got one pair. So yeah, that was a really cool experience. I also got their new lifting shoe. Well, it's not technically a lifting shoe, it's like their training shoe. So I wouldn't do runs in it, but as a shoe to do like your Hyrox hybrid kind of training sessions that don't involve a lot of running, fantastic. I used it last night for my lunges and my squats and stuff like that. Very stable underfoot when you are lifting, but when you walk around, it's not clumpy like a lot of those lifting kind of shoes are. So I think that's going to be a winner. And the positive to, I guess, that shoe and the Pure DV8 is they don't have a plate in them, which I think Puma shoes are fantastic, but all of the shoes that I own that are Puma have plates in them, aside from the Mag Maxes, but those are a slow shoe. Like, they're not meant to be run fast. You're not meant to run fast in them, and to run fast in a Mag Max is really fucking hard. So to have something in the middle is the best. So I'm pumped. But that was a really cool experience. I was like gobsmacked that I got that opportunity, to the point I even asked them how, and they told me that it was a random thing, which I don't agree with. I feel like there had to be some element of research or something in there. But apparently it was completely random and I just fluked it. So my attitude has been that I manifested that, because how else would I have gotten it? I needed new shoes and I manifested getting them, which is fucking cool. Anyway, that was on Thursday. I also registered on the Thursday. We got a cool t-shirt. For the first year ever, Hyrox gave us cool t-shirts to wear for the Walk of Nations. In previous years, they're just lame. They like that weird kind of like anti-sweat fabric. No one ever wears them once you do no one even wears them in the walk of ceremonies. You just take it off and you put it in a bag and you leave it there forever. It's where my last 2 years worth of shirts have gone. The first year was red for Australia, which is weird. Last year was blue. This year was green, but it was a really nice shirt. So it's something that I will probably wear once, because I just don't wear green anyway. But the point is, the shirt fit really well and it was nice. Walk of Nations was cool. It's basically where they walk out all of the nations with a flag and you walk out into this stadium. I actually got some footage of it this year. Was actually there this year. Missed it last year. We got there too late, and then we got in there and we were just like, well, because afterwards you kind of sit and just wait for the Elite 15 races. But it was a cool experience. Went blah, blah, blah. Let's fast forward to the Elite 15 races, because that was probably interesting. The first one was solos, and boy, was that an emotional roller coaster. Watched the females and the males. Wasn't going to. Really thought about staying home, but I'd come that far, and like, to be honest, I wasn't going into my race expecting a PB because of where I was with my new training block. So I was like, I'm going to regret not watching. I'm going to regret not watching, because it's going to be a close race. It's going to be a battle. And it was, both males and females. Females, I, to be honest, didn't really pay much attention in the lead up because it wasn't that exciting. Joe just seemed to be putting on a clinic with everyone throughout the year. So I lost interest in that. Probably should have paid a little more attention, because Alyssa came through and just made it a race, right? It was really cool to watch, and it kind of came down, not right down to the wire, but it was pretty close. The men's, though, that was crazy. Like, I love Hunter. I just think he brings so much to the sport. And it's, it's cool. It's cool. I love the way he goes about things, right? He just goes into the race and talks so much shit, and it just brings entertainment. It adds value, adds entertainment value, makes it exciting. And going into this one, he was talking shit again, but the way he raced, he kind of backed it up for the most part. He went out hot and he held on. The one funny thing from the whole race was going into the sled push. I think Lauren Weeks had told them that the first lane was fucked, and so the guys, when they were running in there, they were Hunter, Luke Greer, Tim Winish, and Ronkovic were like significantly further ahead than everyone else. But on their second last lap, you could see them pull their pace right back to the point that they were almost like pulling up their cadence, and everyone else caught them. Everyone else caught up to them and they were trying to not go in the first lane of the sled push basically, and they ended up starting from the second lane, which worked out all right because I think at that point Cole had already DQ'd, which we didn't know why at that stage. We just thought he got injured. Didn't realize he had actually got disqualified for not finishing the ski, which is bizarre. But if you are, I guess, up to date with the APAC regional stuff, the same thing happened to Luke. He got DQ'd for not finishing the ski there. So brutal. Is it fair? I don't know. But they did brief us on that stuff before the race. So I'm assuming they briefed those guys on that as well. Which means, I guess, if you're not finishing a station, you're getting disqualified. It's just harsh when it comes down to, 5 meters. Anyway, back to the race. It was really cool watching. And then obviously Hunter getting penalized on the burpees and then getting penalized again on the lunges. And then it kind of just started to I wanted him to win. So I was sad when that was happening because he's the champ, right? He's the champ. He's the people's champ. And then into the wall balls, you think it's going to be Tim, you think it's going to be one of those top guys, and then it ends up being Dylan Scott. It was crazy. Dylan is probably one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my entire life. Met him for the first time in Nice, and every time I run into him, he's just a fantastic person. So couldn't be happier. Couldn't be a better person to have won it in the end. He is so deserving, and he's just the best guy. But the race itself was insane. So that was really cool. And then doubles was kind of the same too. I didn't go in to watch the doubles. No, I watched it on YouTube. But it was pretty exciting, I guess. Not as invested as the solos, but they were fast, basically. It was funny just watching Jake Williamson get his ass kicked by Hunter. That would have been hard. I envisioned that's me getting dragged behind Ben in doubles as Jake Williamson. So I feel like that is all of that stuff. Let's move on to my race itself. So going into my race, I really tried. Obviously I'm nervous. I care. I train hard, and I always go into these things. I didn't go into this expecting a PB because it just wasn't realistic. Right, it didn't make sense that I would get one. But you're always hopeful, right? You're always hoping. You're like, maybe it'll happen. Maybe things will just fall in the right place and it'll happen. It didn't happen. I actually ended up slower than Brisbane by a second. But this is where it gets interesting. That it's still a positive race for me. Right, but we'll get there. So going into it, wasn't trying to chase a PB. My goals, I had a few aims for the race. I wanted to burpee better. I wanted to try and actually get unbroken wall balls again because I've missed that the last few races. And that was it's something I pride myself on, being really strong in the wall balls. And yes, I'm still strong in them, but I wanted unbroken again. And I wanted to just run better. I wanted to feel better on the runs. So the course itself was tough. It was hot. It was very hot and humid. And we saw that and you felt it. Usually on the row, I get time to kind of gather myself and go again, and that didn't happen. I couldn't cool down. I was just fucking hot and I had sweat in my eyes and it was just very uncomfortable. But course aside, it was a good race. I was happy with it. I was happy with it. It was hard. It was really hard. I had to work so hard out there. But I got the quickest burpee I've done in 18 months and probably the quickest burpees I've ever done that were good burpees. My second quickest time, or my quickest time, was I think Singapore, and they were shit burpees, man. I went back and looked at the video and they are horrible. They are I was stepping. No wonder they got rid of the fucking staggered feet rule because I was cheating. Whereas now I did a 2:56, I think it was, in the end for my burpees. I did 4 minutes in Brisbane, 4 minutes and 10 seconds. So I didn't almost cut it in half, but I cut over a minute off. That is insane. And I actually owe that to Will Martin. He pulled me up when I did my priming session at the gym in Stockholm, and he was like, "Hey dude, do you mind if I give you some pointers on your burpees?" And I was like, "Yeah, I actually really appreciate this because I'm trying to work on them, but I can't figure out what's going wrong, and no one really helps you. And I do all my training by myself, so I don't have anyone to watch me." And he was like, "When you jump in, you're doing a little hop, which is good, and you're carrying this momentum through, but then you stand up and you wait, and then you jump. He's like, you need to carry that momentum through. It's going to feel like you're using more energy, but I promise you're not. You're going to get through the burpee quicker, and then you can rest when you land or rest when you get back on the ground, as long as you carry the momentum through the movement before the jump. That is the key. And he like went on to say that, most Hyrox movements are all about momentum and carrying that momentum. So I tried it and it fucking worked, man. Like the burpees hurt so much coming off them. The run afterwards was slower than my other runs. I actually am interested to see how much it was, because I told my psych that it was slower, but I said it was like 10 or 15 seconds slower. Even if it is 10 or 15 seconds slower, it's worth doing, because I look at how much time I gained, and I gained a lot. I gained like a minute on the burpees. So even if the run afterwards is like 20 seconds slower, it's still worth it, because I picked up a minute. It was 10 seconds slower. 10 seconds slower. So I came off the burpees and I was dead, and I ran 10 seconds slower than the run before. So for me, I got to do the burpees like that from now on, because I only lost 10 seconds. Whereas if I do slow burpees, I'm losing a minute and a half, which is crazy. So maybe that's why the row was harder. Who knows? But basically, burpees crushed it. And then to the wall balls, when unbroken, again, it was crazy. Like when I'm about to go unbroken, I know it's going to happen because I get goosebumps. And I got to 60 and I got the goosebumps, and I was like, we're doing this. Let's go. And I just locked in, right? From that point on, it was like I'd made the decision. You're not resting. You're just going to go all the way. So stop all this, rest in 20 reps bullshit, and just lock in, get the reps done, and finish this fucking thing. And I did. I got them unbroken, and I got to hit this button on the stage, and it went whoosh, whoosh. I got my patch, and I'm fucking stoked, because for me, that's just those ticks in the box, and the running as well. The running wasn't quick, right? It was probably the slowest I've run in a long time in an actual race. In saying that, I do think the course was quite challenging. It was a 4:19 average pace. Usually, I'm used to running like 4s at least. So I'm like 20 seconds off pace. But in terms of how it actually felt, my body-wise, felt better than it did in Brisbane. And the movements are big ticks in the box. My ski felt really strong. I just think, although the time isn't reflecting it, the way it felt and the way things came together, big ticks in the box. I think traveling has a huge effect on us, and we don't really give it the credit it deserves. We saw that in a lot of the times. There was a lot of disappointment around people's races and stuff, which I will touch on later. But I think travel plays a bigger part in this than we want it to. So I'm really happy with how that went, even though I was a second slower than Brisbane. I am excited going into Sydney next week, hoping that it's a little bit cooler in the venue. I can try and run a little bit harder. I want to try and get fast burpees again, because if I can do it 2 races in a row, to me that just says, all right, we're locked in. Like, this is good. Let's try and focus on something else for the next block, because burpees have been something that I really have focused on for the last 6 weeks. So to come away with them being better would be amazing, and better for the long term. So what else was I going to say? Doubles. So it was good doubles on the next day. We didn't have a long turnaround. We raced at 12:50, I believe, the day before, and then 8:25 the next day. So real early race and real quick turnaround. One thing about Worlds is like, for the most part, you get better race times than you do when you're doing pro races in Australia. Usually, like, I'm racing Sydney at like 7:30. That sucks. Whereas I was on at like midday for solos. That's the best. So doubles was good. Went out. We hit it how we wanted to. I wanted to try and push Ben a little more, because in Brisbane, I slowed him down. And I think I did that. I think the runs were still pretty tamed. I think he was fine on them, but I took a little bit more of the movement load than I did in Brisbane, which was good. And I felt like I tried. I felt like I pushed a little harder. I felt like I had a little more to give, which was nice in that race. So happy with that. We did 55:09, which was like 30 seconds slower than Brisbane, which, if you look at the trend, was most people who raced or are from Australia were like a minute or so slower than their typical times. There were a few people that busted out some really solid races, which is cool, but there were more people that didn't. So I think those guys are like just exceptional. The guys that did come through with PBs and like quick races, I think they are just exceptional athletes, and they got it right. Whereas I think, the majority of people, not that they didn't get it right, but the travel, the race conditions got the better of them on the day. And maybe the fitness wasn't there as well. Who knows? So doubles was really cool. And then what happened on the Sunday? Sunday was nice and chill. I don't think I did anything Saturday night. I think I just had a massive dinner, which I was looking forward to Saturday night. I just wanted to make a big fat meal, and that's exactly what I did. So that was good. Then Sunday, we went to an island, which was fun, on a little boat, and then watched the relay in the evening. Relay was fun. That was actually probably my most fun race to watch of the weekend, because you got to see a bunch of different people run out there. Penny was out there. That was fun, seeing him run. He held on to JK for a significant amount of time, and then JK smoked him on the burpees. But that was probably one of the most fun races to watch, because there was just different people, like people that I knew personally in that race as well as the Elite 15 guys. And to watch them go full steam was very fun. And to watch some of the guys dress up and have a bit of fun with it was fun too. Like, that's always good to see. I like to see people have a bit of fun with stuff. And then that was kind of it, right? For the weekend. Monday flew home, right? So I've given you a really big overview of the whole week, which is, it was a lot. It was a lot. So now I want to talk about one of my big observations for the weekend. I made a video about this and put it online, but I think it was hard seeing everyone beat themselves up and be sad about their races and not getting their best time. And like, I get it. I am so understanding of that, because I've done that. I've done that for a really long time, and it sucks. Like, I've had races that have gone really well, and I've had races that haven't. And one thing that I'm realizing lately is, regardless of how my races go, I get to come back to my life at home, and I enjoy my life. I like my life. It's fun. It's good. No one here treats me any differently. The dogs still come up and love me. Amy still loves me. My family still loves me. I still get to eat delicious dinner. I still get to go down to my shed and train. I still get to, drink my supplements and all that stuff. Nothing changes about my life, regardless of how I race. Sometimes it might bring you more opportunities if you race fast, but odds are, unless that's something you're going to pursue with your whole life, those opportunities aren't something that you really care about. So I think I struggled with it, because I know what these people are feeling, and I know how harsh they are on themselves, and seeing that be the common thread of the weekend was hard for me. So I put a video out trying to address it and explain that, like, you're so much more than your results. Your results are good and they are important, yes, but also that 1 hour on that specific day, halfway across the world, that's so hard to kind of dial in and lock in for that one day and be right for that one moment in time. So many things have to go right, and there is a hell of a lot that can go wrong. So I think just judging your whole self based on that one moment in time is so harsh. And I think, like, we all do it, but our ability to catch ourselves in doing it is going to help us feel a lot better, through the course of the rest of the week or the rest of the month or the rest of your life, really. Like, I think it's important to be disappointed. Like, be disappointed. I was disappointed that my time wasn't faster, but at the same time, I went straight to looking at the facts. The facts were I had a better burpee time, my wall balls are strong, my running felt better, and I know that I am progressing in my fitness because I can see that in my training. So for me, the race time is one thing, but everything else outweighs that. So it's like, okay, it sucks that the time's not there, but it will come because everything else is trending in the right direction. So I think if you can be disappointed, but also look at it critically and analyze all of the data instead of just that one bit of output from the race, you're going to feel a lot better about it, and it's going to help you be more productive going forward, because you can be destructive coming off a race. You can go back into training like I did after Nice. I came back and started training like a madman, did a full sim because I was punishing myself for a performance that I wasn't proud of. And you know what ended up happening? I got injured. missed a race, and then ended up really sick and almost missed another race. And I had to learn the fucking hard way that that's not how things get done. So please try and remember that. And like, try and define what a good race is, right? If you're defining a good race as a specific time, then you really narrow your window of opportunity. Like if I go out and I say a good race for me is under a 103, that's, you know, a pretty good time frame. But that means anything over a 103, a 103.01 is a bad race. A 103.04 is a bad race. A 104 is a bad race. Whereas if I go out and I say, okay, I just want to stick to my plan, I want to race really well, and I want to execute it a certain way, that opens it up, right? Because that means the time doesn't fucking matter in the end. The execution is up to how it feels on the day. And on the day can vary. Like on the day, good on one day can be a completely different type of good versus good on another day, if that makes sense. Like things might click and you might feel great, and that might be a 101. Things might also feel good, things might also click and they might feel great on another day, but that might be a 103. You know what I mean? So I think going into it with a broader, different angle that isn't time specific is going to help you long term. It's okay to have time related goals. I still want to get sub 60, but I've been chasing that for a while now, and I've realized how much it helps versus how much it doesn't help in, you know, coming out of a race and going into a race. I like to think of it, if you go out trying to chase it, right? If you go out chasing it, it's going to burn you. Whereas if you just let it come to you, it's going to be much nicer. So for me, I'm going to let it come to me. I'm going to keep doing all the right things in the lead up to it, and it's going to come to me. You watch, I'll get the sub 60. It'll come when I'm ready for it. So I wanted to shout out a sponsor as well this week, Myprotein. We've already shouted them out before, but honestly, like, the Australian branch of Myprotein could do with a bit of work. Don't tell them. They're not as organised as they are over in Europe, but if you are somewhat familiar with Myprotein in Europe, they are the best. And Lizzie manages a bunch of their athletes over in Europe, and she's the best. So I met her for the first time in Chicago last year, saw her again in Stockholm. I got a spray jacket with Stockholm on it. I got a bunch of free samples. I got a bunch of tattoos. Like, they're just my favorite. I love it. And I wish they would bring that same energy. Like their activations, they have a bar. It's called the Salty Dog. And you go and then on tap, they got their electrolytes and they got drinks and protein and all that kind of stuff. I love it. I wish they brought that stuff over here to Australia and we all got to experience it. It's part of the reason I've stuck with Myprotein for as long as I have, is because I just love what they do over in Europe. So shout out to them. There is a discount code in the bio or the thingo somewhere, or like on my Instagram. You can get up to 50% off. Their discounts are always awesome and their products are great. Like, I have no issues, right? Value for money, fantastic. I use their soy protein quite a bit, and I used it a lot while I was away. It's fantastic. It's I think it's 27 grams of protein a serve, and a serve's 30 grams. So you're basically getting 100% protein, which is key. And it tastes pretty good too. Can't speak for the non-vegan stuff, but vegan stuff, bang on. And they got these cookies as well. Oof. Not healthy, not protein. They're marketed as protein cookies, but they're mostly carbs. They're delicious though. So check them out. I've got some listener questions that have been generated by AI because I forgot to put a question box out, but they're actually pretty good. So I'm going to read them out and answer them. Did you actually achieve what you set out to in Stockholm, or are you telling yourself that? Ooh, man, that's a hard question. Like, he's shooting fires. So I did set out what I wanted to achieve, and I am also partly just telling myself that. So we all want a PB. I wanted the race to go better than it did. I wanted to come in under an hour 3, because for me, that's the benchmark I've set for myself. It's fake. It's not a real benchmark, but that's the benchmark I've set for myself. And I wanted to be there, but I wasn't. But if I put the time aside and I look at the race as a whole, yeah, I got exactly what I wanted to out of it. My burpees were better. I went unbroken on the wall balls, and my running felt more complete. So for me, that's all I really needed to know. I needed to know that the training I'm doing is working, and it is. I pulled up great from the races. I don't feel completely fucking broken. My psoas and my hips are a bit sore, but that's from traveling. So yes, I did get what I needed to get out of the race. And honestly, it's mostly confidence. I've been saying I got my swagger back. Those 100 unbroken wall balls gave me my swagger back, and I am very excited to take that swagger into Sydney. How do you stop yourself from spiraling after a race that didn't go the way you wanted? So I kind of focus on the facts, because facts are facts. I look at the race and I try and break it down. And for the facts of Stockholm, the conditions were really tough. I'd traveled, 24 hours and had busy days leading up to the race, as would have most people coming from Australia. Humidity tends to affect the sleds quite a bit. That is a factor. So if you had a hard sled, odds are it's because it was probably humid, and having a really hard sled that can take it out of you a lot more than, other races in the beginning will play out in the back end of the race. So that is definitely a factor. And I think one of the biggest realizations is I think looking at your training is key as well, right? If you're progressing in your training and you're getting fitter as you train, I think that is a testament to how fit you are and how your fitness is building. The race day is a race day, right? Anything can happen on race day. You might show up good, you might show up bad. But if you're progressing in fitness with your training, then I think you're getting fitter. And I think that's the most important thing. As long as you're ticking the boxes in your training, relating it to Hyrox, then I think you're okay. I think that's the important thing. But if you're going backwards in training, every session feels harder than the last, and you're kind of having to drag yourself there, then you probably need to fix your training. But if your training feels great, you're feeling fitter, week on week, then you're probably doing the right things. So I'd just let it play out, and, next race, try and do things a little bit better in the preparation. Maybe your taper needs work. So I look at that kind of stuff to stop myself from spiraling. Is self-coaching working, or are you just winging it? No, it's working. I've had a few realizations off the back of Stockholm, and I've created a bit of a list of things that I want to work on post-Stockholm. I think for me, one of the biggest things is my cadence. I need to fix that. Not so much in efforts, but when I'm running easy and when I get tired, my cadence falls off. So I'm going to start doing some plyos and some cadence-specific work to help bring that up. As well as, I think I spoke about it in previous weeks, but a lot more tempo work. So that T3 high aerobic, like aerobic zone work, basically. So for me, that would be around a 4:05 to 4:20 pace. Not hard enough that it's going to cause a lot of damage, but I'm pushing enough that I have to run really well. And I think extending that, from say 20 to 40, maybe even 60 minutes is going to be key to helping build that fitness. Because if I can get my T3 closer to my T4, so my tempo pace closer to my threshold pace, that just means running a Hyrox race is going to be easier, because it might be at my tempo pace, which is better heart rate wise and recovery wise. Honest take on the new Hyrox rules. I forgot to mention this in the thing, but Hyrox dropped a bunch of new rules. They're all basically the same, to be honest. The burpee rule is great. I think that's just giving them a bit of deviation, so they're not going to cop as much flack for being harsh on people. I wouldn't change the way I train for burpees. 5 centimeters isn't a lot to work with. I would just know that that's there and be like, okay, cool. I got a bit of leeway, right? I wouldn't try and lean too hard on it, because they're probably still going to look for pretty even feet in your takeoff and your landing. You don't have to drop. You can drop the sandbag. You don't get DQ'd. You just get a 15-second penalty. So still try not to drop it. You can actually stop completely and rest on the rower now, which I don't think is going to be applicable for many people, unless you're like really tired. As long as your butt doesn't leave. If your butt leaves a seat, you get DQ'd. So just keep your ass down until you finish the 1,000 meters. That's all I can remember off the top of my head. You have to push the sled forward, which, I mean, if you were doing that reverse backwards sled push thing, I don't know what you're trying to do there. You're better off just pushing it forward anyway. Otherwise, it's all pretty much basic stuff. Another rule that they highlighted was you can't actually, in a doubles race, you have to stand on both feet. You can't kneel down. So I think I'm notorious for kneeling behind the rower after a hard row effort. You can't kneel, you got to stand, which sucks. I don't like that rule very much. But I put up a post. It's going to be too long because this isn't going to get released for a little while. So don't worry about it. But you can look at the rules on the Hyrox website. What I did was get AI to compare them to the last set of rules and tell me what was different. And it was a pretty good summary. But I think Hyrox is still kind of winging it, to be honest. I don't think they really know exactly what they're doing. With all this stuff, it's all kind of unfolding and they're adapting as it goes, which is good for a newer sport. But at the same time, I'm a bit worried. I am a bit worried about Hyrox and their trajectory. They seem to be focusing a lot more on the money side of things as opposed to racer experience. Like I've got to buy my pro or my elite racing card, and we were meant to get 2, race comp tickets through it, and they've removed that, but they're still charging just about as much. So we don't really get a whole lot for that actual price, and it's like 500-600 Aussie dollars. So I think they're trying to grab money. It's a sport I'm in though, and I'm going to continue to be in, but I just hope that they can course correct before they end up like CrossFit. 3 races in Sydney. Oh, I didn't tell you guys that I'm racing 3 races in Sydney. Is it ego or is there a plan? So 2 races are really important. One of the races is for a bit of fun. Solo Pro is the main one. That's first. So that's always good. I'm helping a friend out with open doubles. So that will be, we'll push. But I think I'm a stronger runner, so that should be okay. And then Amy and I are doing mixed on Friday, which is exciting. I'm very happy for that one. I can't wait. We're going to get it filmed. We're going to go there. We're going to crush it. I'm excited. That one, like Amy hasn't raced for a long time. Sydney last year, I reckon, was the last time she raced. So it's been a year. So I'm excited to get out there and race with her again. We haven't raced since Singapore, which was like when we first started dating around that time, maybe. Singapore now finally racing again in Sydney. So I'm excited for that. Was Stockholm the hardest Hyrox course you've ever raced? Ooh. It was hard. It wasn't the hardest I've raced. I think because I'm a smarter athlete. If I hadn't have approached it the way I did, it would have fucking sucked. But I knew it was hot before going in there, so I knew I had to go out slower and I knew I had to pull things back so that I could push later in the race. So no, it wasn't the hardest race I've raced. The hardest race I've raced was Brisbane because it just sucked mentally. What's next? So Sydney, obviously. Next episode will be the Sydney recap. I'm going to drop this. This will drop like literally the day after I race Sydney, purely because I'm trying to put these out every 2 weeks. But yeah, that's it, guys. Hopefully you have a lovely week ahead. Sydney, I'm sure Sydney was good. I'm going to go in with the attitude of trying to learn a little more from the race, just like I did with Stockholm, because right now I am still at the beginning of this training block and I'm excited to put together like the best training block possible so that I can pass it on to you guys and the athletes that I coach. I want to learn as much as I can and then pass it on. So Sydney's more data collection, and then I can pivot my training and try and work on what I need to get better out of Stockholm and Sydney, and then kind of build from there. The next race I want to try and push towards is Melbourne. So I've got until the end of the year to really put together some good, solid training. But that's it for this week. If you have any questions, put them in the comments or message me. Peace out. I can't wait till after Sydney though, because then I can get back into my routine. I love routine. Routine's the best.